The year 1812 is known in Europe for Napoleon's defeat in Russia. To be more precise, the Napoleon's beginning of the conquest of Russia and retreat in only 5 months. So, where did things go wrong? Napoleon entered Russia with 600,000 soldiers to Poland, promising conquest in just 20 days, although it took him 3 months to enter Moscow. But he succeeded in that intention, solely because of the tactical retreat of the Russians, who, after major battles, had to withdraw their forces to regroup, which was a pretty good idea. After leaving Moscow, the Russians ordered to set fire to all warehouses and supplies that they could not take, as well as many buildings as possible. Napoleon expected that in Moscow they would find large supplies that would help him in a further fight, and the possibility of establishing themselves in Moscow as a base for further attacks on Russians. Anyway, after exactly 1 month, the French left Moscow due to poverty, also due to impossibility of fortification due to majority of the burned city. Less than 2 months later, Napoleon's last soldier is leaving Russia. Of the once great French army of 600,000 men, less than 100 returned. Fortunately, on the Russian side, there were much greater losses of up to 1 million people, which half of whom were civilian victims. Napoleon had many problems that influenced the defeat in Russia, such as the impossibility of logistics to follow the rapid march of the army. Also, the shaken morale within the army. And the tactics of the Russians, who preferred to retreat at the start in order to regroup, then also burning all their villages and supplies behind them. And of course, one of the most important things is the weather, which was not in Napoleon's favor that year. From the dry, hot summer that set him on his journey, to the winter that drove him out of Moscow, to the midwinter weather turning above average warm and turning frozen and snowy Russia into the mud. And then again, the return of winter conditions, which was the strongest one in the last 20 years. Although this is a more cheerful video, we'll pay attention to a few interesting facts. So did you know that the most famous French guy was an Italian? Napoleon was born in Corsica, a large island off the coast of Italy. This occurred a year after it became a French territory. While today, Corsicans primarily speak French, with a small percentage of the population speaking Corso, which is an Italian dialect. But during the Napoleon time, this was not the case. During his childhood, the locals spoke either Genoese or Corso. His true name was really Napoleone di Buonaparte, which he changes as a young adult in order to sound more French. No, the Napoleon was not short. The rumor about Napoleon's supposed short stature was originated by English propaganda as a way of embarrassing and diminishing him in the front of whole Europe. They did this by making him comically diminutive in critical cartoons during the Napoleonic Wars. This belief became so resonant that the 20th century psychological term known as short man syndrome has become also known as the Napoleon complex. And one possible misinformation could came from the doctor that noted that at the time of his death he was 5'2" from the top of the head to the heels, which is a French measurement equal to in English terms 5'6". So, you do the math.